GM, Crypto AI News Analysis here. It is January 11th, and before I get on with this video, none of the things I'm talking about in this video are buy or sell signals for buy any of these tokens. All of these tokens are my own conviction and of my own research for what I think are going to be the crypto market's direction into the near future and into the long-term future. Let's just get on with the video here. So let's talk about the price action of the AI agents here, which is the main focus of crypto right now. And virtuals is looking fucking bad still. It's still very weak because Bitcoin is still kind of just ranging a bit at its lows here. It's nothing too crazy. Not a lot of volatility this weekend, which is good because you get a lot more time to research coins. But virtuals looks pretty bad, and that reflects onto the price action onto a lot of the coins. So game, this one's actually really strong. If you guys are looking for any coins on virtuals, I did the work for you. The strongest coins are game and I would say Dora. So I was looking at this Dora token and I bought a bag of this. I think it's extremely interesting. It's like a travel AI agent, but there's a lot of cool things about this. They have some billionaire KOL behind it, but good tokens that are going to do good in virtuals now is that there's a lot of saturation of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, which is why things like Beta is kind of shedding the bed right now. And what's going to take the stage are unique AI agents. Like nobody else is replicating this shit. So not a yapper on Twitter, but something like Dora, where they're literally making a UI AI travel agent. That's fucking cool as shit. Nobody else is doing it, so it's pretty unique. And then infra, so game and Convo looks fucking horrible. I wouldn't really advise you guys to buy this right now. If you have this, then I guess you have to diamond hands it, but it's most likely going to retest right here, right? And we'll see what's going to happen. Virtual still looks pretty ugly, but don't accept a V-shaped recovery on this type of token. I mean, if Virtuals has some random listing from Binance, then that'll be fucking sick, or Coinbase, and it'll probably do V-shaped recovery in that case. But for now, Virtuals looks pretty bad, and it has to go sideways a bit before another leg. But you have to look at the strong coins. Game, as I said, extremely strong. You wouldn't even think that Virtuals is pulling back this hard because it's literally ranging down here, which is really fucking cool. Okay, worst case scenario, I could probably retest this level here, but that's like minus 10%. Who gives a shit about that? But yeah, the tokens look pretty fucking weak. But if we look at Creator Bid, though, Creator Bid actually looks not bad at all. D-King looks pretty good. And if I were to pull up Aion, which, if I can find it. Yeah, so Aion looks really fucking strong too. So Creator Bid tokens look pretty good, at least the top ones. The smaller cap ones, like AOLOS, looks pretty fucking bad. If we look at Amon's actually not too bad, but you want to be focused on the higher caps, especially in this time. But if we look at Solana AI in comparison, so if we look at Aicc, which is the main token of Solana, it looks fucking bad. And it's because there's a lot of FUD around the project, especially with the developer, where he's kind of just farming his audience here. So the reflection of the price action is pulling back a lot. We'll see if it ever recovers. I think it won't die forever, but this is not what you want to see in the AI coin as big as Aicc and Solana. And a lot of the other tokens on here, there are some niche ones like Tetsuo, which is really strong, but there's not a lot of tokens. And I know some of you guys wanted me to talk about Butthole token. Shit is retarded, but look at this chart. A very nice, strong chart in the Solana times. Will this come back? It probably could, but I don't know. I gotta look up more onto this. It's part of the Fartcoin trilogy with Fartcoin, Goat, and Butthole. Fartcoin, if I look at Fartcoin, it's like at 800 million. It's not really the hottest right now. I mean, if you zoom out, it's still extremely strong, but we'll see what's going to happen with this. But meme coins aren't necessarily in the focus. It's more about AI. But if we also look at Sui AI, so Sui AI doesn't really look, it looks okay here. It's definitely stronger than base AI and Solana AI. So ADA is the only bag I have on this, and I'm up on this, but yeah, actually, no, there is no but. It's still really strong. So Sui AI is pretty strong, but it's pretty risky because Sui AI is basically a copycat of virtuals, but on Sui, and that's kind of what Sui is anyway. It's kind of a weird middle child behind Ethereum and Solana, but it is extremely strong in its market conditions. You usually want strength, so I have a very small bag of this. But if we look at meme coins in comparison, so meme coins had a little bit of a run up with Michi, for example, today, but it kind of got destroyed. So meme coins right now are pretty much going sideways. You want to be in the strong ones. So if I were to look at the strong ones, tokens like Mini, Sigma, and Retardio are really strong. If I were to give any recommendations, I don't have any of those. The only one I have is this microcap Walter, which I fucking love. It's extremely strong in its market conditions. I mean, it's been going sideways forever. I'm surprised it never bled to zero. So this token I like a lot personally. I think it's going to do really great. But so a lot of meme coins as well. So KeyCat, the bag of like. So again, it's finally starting to bottom out here and should go sideways a bit before its next leg. But it has to go sideways a bit more until it's going to have a leg. It's not going to do V-shaped recovery. So keep that in mind. But that's just basically the price action of the coins. We've looked at the Cookie.fun dashboard. So the market cap wise, it is lower overall. Smart engagement is going down slightly, and virtuals and ASXZ is still the same ratios. XBT gained a shit ton of mind share because of the Binance listing still. Okay, that's really interesting, but I think it's just some sort of bot happening. But overall, the whole ecosystem is going a bit sideways, a little down. Is this the end of AI agents? No, it's not. It's probably a correction, as they've been going up only forever. But I think in the midterm, long term, AI agents will be fine. Right now, they don't really look that hot, but meme coins in comparison are actually showing a bit more relative strength. I mean, there's some niche things like game on virtuals, which is extremely strong because of this narrative. But if you were to deploy any capital personally, I would put it in the meme coins, the strongest ones. But let's just look at the tweets here. So I want to talk about this one sector of DeSci. So this video, I think I'm going to title it something related to DeSci. Is the next thing, big thing. But I was looking at this sector, DeSci. So I have this coin called Thardy, which is essentially a tardigrade on Solana. They're trying to build a brain on this. And I just want to talk about what DeSci is really quick. So in the crypto sectors, we have three main sectors, I would say. So first of all is meme coins. Meme coins have about 100 billion market cap overall. And the second is AI agents, which is emerging narrative. But then third, I'll argue you could probably say is gaming, which is a bit more of a crossover with AI right now. But I would say the third narrative that would come into crypto is DeSci, decentralized science. So one of the problems within the university research realm, like they're trying to get funding to do research because there's a bunch of researchers in top colleges like Harvard, and then they got to do all this studying on science, and they need funds to do this. And to get the funds, they have to go to these centralized organizations to get funds from. But the problem about getting information and getting funding from these guys is that it's extremely biased from their part. And as we all know, why people like crypto so much is because if we use the ordinary bank system, then your funds are at risk from a centralized organization that can lock up your funds anytime. If you have crypto instead, then your money is actually yours and it's not liable to the Federal Reserve and the government, right? But most cases, if as long as you're not doing some fucked up shit like Andrew Tate is doing with his whole controversy, then mostly you're probably going to be fine with the centralized world. But it applies into the university world as well, where funding is coming from these super biased groups. And as a result of that, a lot of research that you see onto academia can have some sort of biases in them that are being pushed by some agenda from some centralized organization. So what DeSci does is that now the funding isn't just coming from one big source, but now you can all invest in this token behind the project. And now that funding is more decentralized, and there hasn't to be that much bias for people, right? Because researchers, when they want to create a project with academia, they usually have their own agenda they want to push. But many times they're going to get skewed and go a different direction because of a decentralized organization funding them. Because they're going to say, oh, you can't do this or that, or I want you to do this and that, because they're the people of money, right? But now the funding sources can come from people in crypto. So now it can be in more discretion of the developer themselves behind a project, which is why decentralized science could be huge and completely revolutionize science and how it's funded and how research is done, so that there's less biased research. But one of the problems about this is that adoption is going to be a really difficult task, because in academia, crypto is an extremely taboo topic. Nobody fucking likes this topic because they relate to it with scams, and they should, right? Because if we think of crypto, most people think of like Hawktua and meme coins and rug pulls and shit. They're not actually thinking about how the technology works and how it can transform civilization as an entirety, right? But the adoption is going to be probably the biggest challenge for DeSci. In theory, DeSci should be extremely revolutionary for future narratives. And right now, that market cap wise is at 3 billion. And if that is going to be one of the biggest things. If it's probably as good of a narrative as AI, but AI just sounds better for people marketing reason wise. DeSci, when it comes to them, it's probably kind of good as well. It depends on the price of the DeSci tokens, but this whole narrative DeSci, I would say we're still extremely early to it. It's not really something that's been explored, but in theory, it is absolutely revolutionary and could be even more game changing than AI does. But besides that topic there, does that mean you should go put your life savings in DeSci coins right now? I mean, it's hard to tell because there's not that much attention on it. Not many people know how fucking crazy it is. People know about AI, right? Which is why you should put in AI. But on DeSci, it's obviously a very good sector as well. However, it is very undervalued in comparison. But I was looking at this one project, Tardy. So I was doing some research. I got some recommendations to look into this from some of my friends. But if you wanted to know a DCA zone, it's probably a distant line here. But Tardy, what this is that they're building a digital tardigrade life form on Solana. So it kind of sucks it's on Solana because it's a very GT chain. But this is really cool shit. And I did my own research into the developer and the token because obviously on Solana, there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of bullshit that's going on. Developers are trying to farm money. But this guy is generally working his ass off for the last 40 days or so. He's trying to go to the Castian Bowl and pitch it to Jupiter, and even Jupiter's out here shilling this token. So there's a lot of bullish catalyst for this token here. And if he wanted to sell by now and make money off this, he would have done it already. It's been a month, but he's still working on it. So I like that a lot. But I was looking at his website here. So this is the website of the Tardy. So this is the tardigrade here, which is essentially this life form that has a resistance to heat and a lot of extreme conditions that humans can't survive. And they're essentially building a brain and essentially having weightings of neurons. So this is a cross section of multiple disciplines. You have to make a cross section of AI, neuroscience, biology, computer science to create something like this. And he's out here creating these postsynaptic neurons that are essentially reacting to transactions on the blockchain because this is related to it, right? And it essentially makes the movement of this tardigrade a result of the transactions that are created on this. So let's say if like more people buy this, and they'll probably do some shit, right? Like I'm not trying to pretend that I know the exact ins and outs of this project. I did read pretty deeply into the white paper, and I'm not going to try to pretend I understand everything because I'm not a neuroscience major. I have a little bit of knowledge here and there from like podcasts, but I'm not a neuroscience person at all. But I can tell that even I've come from a STEM world and I see a project like this and I think it's extremely fucking cool. And I see this and I see it at 800K market cap, which is essentially at zero on Solana. And it's a project like this where it could generally revolutionize the entire world. So I'm going to read this tweet to you guys. Understanding the A life to realize infinite potential of Tardy. So this is a developer here. He made this quite recently. And 1 out of 10, what is artificial life? A life is a study of life, like systems created by humans. Think digital organisms that evolve, adapt, and even reproduce, all following the basic principles of biology, but in computers or synthetic materials. 2 out of 10, key question. Can we create life from scratch? While we can't create biological life, we can simulate its fundamental properties: self-replication, evolution, metabolism, response to environment. 3 out of 10, major breakthroughs. Conway's Game of Life, Tierra Digital Evolution, Avita Platform, OpenWorm, Xenobots. 4 out of 10, real life applications, drug discovery, robotics design, space exploration, LLM design, sustainable architecture. A-Life isn't just theoretical, it's transforming industries. 5 out of 10, current frontiers, chemical computing, synthetic biology, neural simulation, artificial ecosystems. Scientists are blending biology and technology in many ways. 6 out of 10, future possibilities, self-repairing machines, living buildings, adaptive materials, bio-hybrid systems, space colonization helpers. The potential is endless. 7 out of 10, why artificial life will be bigger than AI. Solves biological problems, not just computational ones. Creates new forms of life, not just stimulates existing ones. Transforms medicine, agriculture, and space exploration. And bridges digital and biological worlds. An 8 out of 10, blockchain plus artificial life equal revolution. Imagine digital organisms as smart contracts. Autonomous evolution, transparent lineage tracking, decentralized computation. 9 out of 10, remember 2015? AI is just hype. Robots won't replace jobs. ChatGPT is impossible. We're making the same mistake with A life today. The signs of revolution are here, but most aren't paying attention. 10 out of 10, every major revolution seems impossible until it's inevitable. Tardy's on the road to become the first and pioneering project on A life in the crypto space. A life, if it's just the next big thing, it's the next leap in our species evolution. So I'm going to briefly explain what this AI life stuff is. So I did some research onto it as well. But artificial life is essentially another discipline that crosses over multi-disciplines. So as I said before, computer science, biology, neuroscience, and even crypto here where it's being replied. But artificial life is essentially the study of creating life. So I guess you can go down moral pathways of, is this even okay that we're playing God? But besides that, people are trying to create artificial life using non-living things. So code is not living, right? But then we're putting the code together, and then now we have some sort of a sentient being with these tardity. And even with people creating AI, where AI is, it's code at the end of the day, but I guess you can argue that it's reaching some level of sentience, especially things like Luna, right? But now we see something like this with DeSci, where this guy's making a brain on Solana, because a lot of people in the neuroscience world, there actually is a genuine bridge of math, neuroscience, biology, and computer science together, because people are realizing, okay, coding, maybe we could try to unlock how our brain works in the human brain, right? Because even in neuroscience, we don't fully understand how our brains work. Like, how can we even replicate this thing? Because the moment that a human can replicate how brain works, something that is a masterwork of God's creation, and humans are able to replicate that, we can essentially solve so many issues within humanity, right? But what people are trying to do in artificial life is that it's a lot difficult, very difficult for scientists to solve these problems using just traditional methods of studying other people. So they're trying to create this little microcosm of an environment where they're essentially combining all these disciplines to create artificial life, to try to project that onto real life, and maybe we can extract some information out of it, because it's a lot cheaper in comparison, right? Because if you want to do real life studies on real people, it has some ethical issues and all this shit. But if you do it with coding and you're able to simulate a tardigrade and simulate a brain and see how it reacts to different transactions, then we could probably project some of that information onto human studies. Because even in the scientific world, in food studies, for example, not a lot of that is done with humans. A lot of them are done on rats. And rats, they project onto humans because our biology makeup is actually kind of similar for some reason. So that's essentially the reason why artificial life is a big thing here. And this person's out here trying to develop that on crypto, on Solana. And I think it's pretty cool. And by the way, this is not a super show. I'm not being paid to talk about any of this. This is of my own conviction, my own research on this, because I did super research on this. I was like, this is super fucking cool. And maybe this is like a huge sales pitch you're watching. So you're like, oh my gosh, I got to put my life savings. Don't fucking do that. By the way, this is super risky. If he wanted to, at any point, he could just say, fuck this, I'm done with it. He could have some emotional breakdown, say, yeah, I'm done with this shit. You got to put that much amount of money that you're willing to put into this shit. But I do think it's a very interesting project. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that. On the narrative of DeSci, though, I would say we're still extremely early to it. Not many people are talking about it, and it's not really as big as AI is. Like, AI is still early on the grand scheme of things relative to crypto and meme coins market cap wise, but DeSci is an even earlier narrative to AI. But sometimes the problem with very early narratives is that you have to wait a long time for them to pick up. So I'm willing to wait on my bag here. So if you're willing to buy this too, then you got to be willing to wait a couple weeks, months before it actually does something. But I definitely think this is definitely a project that's at least worth 9 figures market cap wise. But let's go on with the next tweet. So let's talk about DeSci. This thing is really cool. But just because the majors are struggling doesn't mean there's nothing to do. There's still plenty of action on chain, games that need less liquidity to play, and degens who are always hungry. 2 main types of plays stand out. 1, something generally new in terms of concept. 2, established projects from the meta that have held up, are trading at a discount, but show signs of longevity, linearness, and are actively shipping new features. I've seen a few solid ones here already. I think there's more in the 20-30 million range, and I could pull off some more runs. So something generally new in terms of concept. So I was talking about Dota earlier, and then established projects from the meta that have held up our trading at a discount. So infracoin. So if we're to look at like game or something, game is definitely holding up pretty well. It's a very good, interesting one. Combo is honestly probably as useful as game, but they don't push the shit as much. And the chart is reflecting on it because people don't know how good this shit is. And I don't have Combo right now, but I will add back into it in this line here because I think this is probably one of the most undervalued tokens infra-wise on virtuals. I wouldn't suggest you buy into this. I mean, I guess you could if in the long term, but I'm personally buying in this DCA zone because it's definitely going down there. But let's look at this next tweet. At this point in the cycle, you can only be in 1 of 2 camps. Which one are you in? Camp number 1, this cycle is different. BTC dominance continues to grind up. BTC moves up in waves based on the ETF institutional boomer bid. All we get now is pockets of PvP on a few specific on-chain alts at a time in rotating doors of meta. We never get another alt season again. Hordes retail never truly comes back. In camp number 2, which is one that I'm in, this cycle won't be identical to previous ones, but will rhythm. BTC dominance will eventually drop hard. It will be aligned more with what we've seen in previous cycles. We'll get a version of alt season to cycle. Hordes and new retail and capital will float crypto. So us who are in alts obviously want BTT's dominance to go down so more liquidity can trickle into altcoins, and essentially our coins are going to do crazy fucking multiples. But we want this to go down. Right now, BTC dominance is an uptrend, right? It's still pretty strong, that trend. But eventually, there will come a point where it can't keep up the dominance anymore, and the market perhaps wants to trickle that liquidity into altcoins because I'm not trying to pretend that I understand the dynamics behind it, but we're hoping that this is going to happen, right? And historically, it has done this. If we look at this, it had a pretty nice run up here, and then it was like, oh shit, maybe he's going to, but then fucking died here. Maybe it'll do the same thing, but BTC dominance usually has a bit of a bearish chart overall. But let's look at this next tweet here. One thing I don't see people talk about much, but is a common trap many players in this market fall into is tunnel vision. You know the feeling, you get tied to a few positions, maybe they're a bit in the red, and suddenly all your focus narrows in on them. You're hoping they'll turn around, so you sit there, fixated, refreshing the chart, and looking for data points to make you feel better and further you bias, while everything else fades into the background. The problem is, by locking in like this, you end up missing out on fresh data points, new projects, primitives, or even clear pair trades that can help you hedge, clear those losses, or completely overweight with a win. It's like putting on blinders. You get so caught up in what you're losing that you can't see what's out there to gain. My advice, stay adaptable. Don't let yourself get so tied on one or two positions that you miss the bigger picture. Keep an eye on the market as a whole and be ready to pivot when new opportunities arise. Sometimes cutting your losses and shifting focus to something new can be the smartest move you can make. Remember, in this game, flexibility and awareness are as important as conviction. So yeah, what's more important than your conviction is you being adaptable to the new trends, because you got to realize that you don't want to get emotional with your bags and be like, oh, it could have been this or that, or I want to get to the break even point. No, you got to realize that if your thesis gets invalidated for it, like there's not a bunch of attention on it, then you cut that shit immediately. You don't want to be super emotional about it. So DAOs, for example, I'm noticing some sort of trend where they're losing a bit of their own significance because there's a bit of oversaturation of DAOs. But I still think they're going to be good, but I'm personally betting less on them and trying to bet on the unique agents like Dora here. So I'm being adaptable personally because I think Dora is going to do really fucking interesting things. But we look at this, for example, you just want to be adaptable. It's probably the most important skill, and you have to be willing to realize where you were wrong and perhaps where you could be right into the future. So that's a very important thing. Don't get super tunnel vision on your current bags like they're down or shit, and don't get anchored to the price. If they're down and they're down for a reason that the thesis is unvalidated, but you were thinking that maybe it's going to have a bounce and go back up, no, don't get emotional about it. Just cut the bag immediately and rotate the capital into a better asset. But let's look at this next tweet here. So this is Shaw here. There was this coin called AICC, a DAO, where it essentially pumped to like $2 million if you bought like $1,000 of it. It was just fucking crazy. But Shaw here, he was essentially in it. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but he turned 5 sold into $2 million. And it's kind of weird that he's going into these projects where he's kind of dumping on the retail investors, because how these DAOs work is that they have a cabal of people and they buy a pretty decent allocation of the DAO before it's launched into the public. And then they make a shit ton off the retail investors. But then they're probably going to dump on them later because it's not like their tokens are locked. And Shaw and a bunch of other influencers were doing that and dumping the token, which is kind of a very scummy thing to do, which is why some of these things with how AI16Z is and how Shaw, the developer, is doing it, it's reflecting on the price action where it's dumping a lot more than it should be, despite how useful it is on Solana. Because we also have to realize Solana has more liquidity than Base still. And even still, Virtuals is still a higher market cap ecosystem than AI16Z. And that just shows that on Solana, people are just kind of retards and they're not really willing to read that much. And if they see some, like I saw this meme, system.out.println of hello world, like they're going to see that code and they'll be like, oh my God, this is the next big thing. And they're going to ape immediately. These guys are fucking retards. And that's how it is on Solana. While people on Base Chain and even on Ethereum are more willing to do a bit more research. And it's not like you're going to find the absolute gems on crypto, because sometimes it's going to be very difficult to find very good products. So Tardy, for example, I think is an extremely good one. But some projects on AI, you also have to be willing to essentially left curve it and be like, okay, normies are going to think it's good enough, so I might as well ape in too. So even bad shit, especially in a bull run like this, you got to realize in bull runs, even bad projects go up. So if you position yourself accordingly to that, and you also left curve it, and you're like, I know this is stupid, and I know that even my toddler can do this, but I'm gonna ape it because I know other people are gonna buy it. There's an element of skill with that as well. And AI16Z is arguably a copy of Virtuals as well, taking away a lot of features from it. But people ape into it because Solana cheats, or Solana people are just kind of stupid like that. But let's look at this next tweet. Virtual agents printing gains while Solana KOL shill rugs. Market data points to Base for real value. So completely agree with that. Base is going to be extremely big. But look at his next tweet. So this is about AICC. But yeah, he's essentially saying that there is this issue that I was talking about. The issue everyone has is the way the whole process is structured just feeds in the notion that crypto's cabal. It mostly is a cabal of insiders plus a cadre of KOLs whose full-time job seems to be begging people's DMs at any time there's an opportunity to make a quick buck. So you got to realize that these people pretty much do this all the time where they're trying to make quick bucks and shield projects to their followers and then dump on them. It's a pretty scummy game, but you got to realize that's the nature of the game, especially in crypto, where their only source of income is scamming other people. But let's look at this next tweet here, or the last one. The future is AI agents that learn and build 24/7. So it's a Sequoia tweet, but I'm not going to watch the whole video here. But Zuck, probably in 2025, Meta, as well as other companies, will have an AI that can effectively be a mid-level engineer that you have at your company that can write code. In the beginning, that'll be very expensive to run. Then at some point, a lot of the code we have in our apps will be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers. In my opinion, that will augment the people working on it. My view is that in the future, people will be so much more creative and freed up to do crazy things. So yeah. AI is coming to do a lot of the monotonous tasks in the workforce, and you got to realize that 90% of work in these workplaces are pretty much monotonous tasks, and they can be replaced by AI. So the only people that are going to get pretty much staying in these workplaces are people that can really do just super crazy shit and actually outperform AI. I mean, there probably will come a point where AI is going to replace everyone, but despite that, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, if in the next few years, maybe in the next few decades, sure. But right now, with how AI agents are going, you got to realize that it's going to be a huge fucking industry. And even in Meta, they're going to be replacing a lot of employees with AI because AI can write code better than an entry level software engineer. Like, why the fuck would you hire a software engineer for like a 6-figure salary and you got to train them, do all this bullshit for them, and they don't even provide that much value for you? But instead, you can essentially have an AI tool that you only have to pay maybe $100 a month, and it's going to do 10x work of software engineering. It doesn't have to even sleep. Like, I know some friends in the AI business who are personally working on this thing, and it's going to be fucking huge. And you got to realize that if you were working on a job where you can be replaced by AI, then you either essentially invest into it, make money off it with crypto, so that you can essentially not be out there in the useless eaters camp and get destroyed and be the manual labor people. I mean, even those manual laborers probably get replaced by AI sometime soon because business are always trying to cut inefficiencies and make business better. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say in this video. AI is going to be fucking huge. And right now, are they good entries? I mean, probably into the long run, midterm. But for now, we'll see what's going to happen. AI still looks pretty weak right now, but meme coins are showing a bit of relative strength and are starting to bottom. So if you want the DeSci funds, I would highly recommend meme coins in comparison. But the DeSci projects, you got to realize that's a very early narrative. And if you buy into that, you got to be willing to wait because it's not going to go anytime soon, in my opinion. It's still going to have a spotlight in AI right now. I mean, maybe there will be some sort of spotlight in DeSci when January 25th comes, and then Castan Bull, which is essentially a collaboration of projects on the blockchain, are going to be shilled to VCs. Then perhaps DeSci could have a run there, but we'll see what's going to happen. I am exposed to all of these industries anyways, meme coins, AI, DeSci here at this point. So I'm chilling wherever the fuck happens. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say, and I'll see you guys.